Welcome back, everyone, to the Casual Fangirls. I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. We are here today to talk about Secret Invasions, episodes 1 through 3. This will be a 6-episode season, so we're going to do the first 3 of the latest Disney Plus Marvel entry. Now, we're not going to lie. We kind of struggled about whether we should talk about the show, how we should talk about the show. So we settled on doing a halfway check-in through the season, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the last 3 episodes and the finale. So that's how we're gonna rock with this time. It's gonna be mostly vibes. We're not necessarily breaking down each episode, but we will talk about the major important parts and the things that stuck out to us. But before we discuss the first 3 episodes, T, hit them with the spoiler warning, please.
It'll be my pleasure. So as we said, we're about to talk about the first 3 episodes of Disney Plus's newest installment in the MCU universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, whatever. Secret Invasion, right? The first 3 episodes. Now, if you haven't seen them, obviously we're going to talk about them. If you don't want it to be spoiled, pause, go watch them and come back. We are also most definitely probably going to talk about Captain Marvel, since that's the first time we meet the Skrulls. Spoiler for Captain Marvel, I guess. And just the whole MCU as a whole. So anything within the MCU is open for grabs. If you don't want anything spoiled within the MCU, what are you doing here? Where have you been? How have you been living under a rock the past decade? But outside of that, if you're pretty much caught up or you don't care about spoilers, then please join us. We'd love to have you stick around for the conversation. Yeah. So let's just dive right in. Let's first start off with like our overall impressions about the show at large. I'll let you go first, Nessa. How do you feel about the show?
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's not it's not the most intriguing show. It's not. I do appreciate them going for the secret spy, espionage, Winter Soldier kind of vibe, which I do like. But all in all, it doesn't feel like I need to rush to Disney Plus every Wednesday to watch it. I'm not waiting up till midnight to catch it. It's kind of one of those things. Is like, oh, as long as I watch it before Sunday, I guess I'm good. But I don't know. All in all, I like it. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Not something to necessarily write home about. How do you feel about it?
I feel very similarly that it's nice to be with Fury again, but Fury feels so different to me. And that's deliberate, right? Like even the characters in the story who are dealing with Fury, like you left, you've disappeared. I don't even know who you are anymore because the Fury that I know wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel too. It's like I'm not suggesting that I think Fury is a Skrull. I don't think that, but he clearly went through some level of trauma that's like changed the way that he approaches everything that's pretty much been his life, his bread and butter. And I can feel that as a viewer. And so I'm still like trying to figure out how I feel about Fury right now, just like everybody else in the story. So that's why I'm kind of a little like standoffish.
Fair enough.
All in all, it's good. It's decent. I'm going to watch it to the end. I appreciate the backstory into Fury. Like this is a story that's been, long since should have been told since he's been with us since the beginning. But again, like you said, it's not like Loki or even when WandaVision, people were running to because they were like starving for anything MCU. I think Loki was actually pretty good and had people like ready for the next episode whenever it dropped. I don't think we've seen a Disney Plus show since like that brought that out of us since Loki.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Although I think WandaVision is top tier. Like I think in terms of like storytelling and all that stuff, I think it definitely is top tier. But I think you're right. It was probably more of like that. We need to get back into the MCU type of energy, and then it's been like plummeting since, honestly. Like I feel like do you ever watch like those cooking competitions and stuff like on Food Network and whatever? And there's always like those 1 or 2 people that just skate by in the middle. Like they're never on the bottom, but they're never on the top. They never win a challenge, but you're like, they make good work. they're probably gonna get pretty far, but they're just right there in the middle. That's how I feel about most of like the MCU shows.
right now. Okay.
Yeah, just in general, like ever since from WandaVision until now, I feel like most of them are like skating in the middle. I don't know how.
But
In-
is that a fair critique though? Like, I mean, they kind of made their own bed. Like, no one told you to give us Endgame. You did that on your own, right?
it's not even about comparing it to Endgame. Like I honestly really when these shows drop, I
Mhm.
honestly really try to approach them from like a fresh perspective. Now, they do tie into a bigger story, which I think sometimes is a hindrance to the MCU,
Agree.
but I try to walk into it as like, if this was connected to nothing, would I enjoy this? Would I run back to watch this? And 9 times out of 10, it's no. Like,
I agree with you, and I would argue that part of the issue is because they are relying on you knowing the rest of the MCU for a lot of this. For example, I was going to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. There were certain aspects of this show where I was like, "Oh, this could have been really interesting if they played this like a buddy cop comedy between Fury and Talos." And like they would be able to do that if they gave us a little bit more flashbacks of like how they used to operate together back in the day. Like we're getting some 90s flashbacks, but in
yeah.
pieces and not any of them together. That could still be forthcoming. But in order for you to be interested in this show from jump, you have to already know Fury and Talos' story. And I think that to your point, that is almost at a detriment because then it can't stand on its own.
Yeah, and I mean, so then let me ask this. Do you think the show so far is for casual fans?
I don't think so, actually. That's actually a good question. I would find it very hard to be interested in what's going on without all the fandom
Yeah.
knowledge that I had. Like even Amelia Clark being on here, I'm interested because she was on Game of Thrones and it's like I want to see her act in something else. Like, like I think they're pulling on the heartstrings of fans. They're like using the capital that they've built up over time with
Yeah.
fans to carry some of these like stories that I'm assuming they need to get on the screen so that they can save time in future movies, right? Like, spoiler
Mm,
alert, Maria Hill dies. Like, you don't want to have to explain that in a future Avengers movie why she's not around, right?
okay.
So, I think the Disney shows are relying heavily on our knowledge of the fandom now.
Definitely, I totally agree. I think they're expecting you to know who Fury was so that when
Mhm.
they're trying to do all these contrasts, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Or like even having knowledge of Captain Marvel, right? And what happened there. And so how the original Skrulls even got there. It's like they're expecting you to have to come in with all this knowledge or at least have someone who's there to explain it to you.
Mhm.
To be like, hey, this is what happened and this is why things are going like this. And I think it's funny because I feel like after we watched Captain Marvel, we were like, why didn't they just give us a Fury movie? Like it should have just been a
Right.
Fury movie. I remember us kind of saying that a little bit. And now it feels like they're giving us the Fury quote unquote movie and it's in the form of a TV show. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I should have gave it to me instead of Captain Marvel. But
I mean, they gave us Captain Marvel because they needed a superstar Avenger to help balance out Thanos' army, right? Like,
yeah, but
um,
even all right, yeah, I was gonna be like, but even still, she came and didn't really do much. But whatever, she
okay.
took down the ship, but she really should have been able to take him out on her own. But that's not
Or
how.
Doctor Strange. Let's not talk about how he clearly knows how to cut off people's arms, but just forgot when they were trying to get the glove off of Thanos. So, anyways, um,
Things
or
happen.
when they were crashing, he could have just circle ringed them back up to Earth because clearly you can do it if you did it in Endgame. Anyways,
Movie's got a movie. So then we're already kind of talking about it. So let's jump into the cast, the performances. Just really quick, we have Samuel Jackson as Fury, Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, Kingsley Ben Adir as Gravik.
oh, his name is Kingsley. I like it.
Yes, it's good. I think he also played like Martin Luther King, and
Oh,
he's done some work out here
I
in
wonder if
these
he's
streets.
been in the Harry Potter stories. Hold on, keep
I don't
going.
know, maybe who knows. Emilia Clarke of Game of Thrones fame as Gaia. We have Olivia Colman as Sonya, Don Cheadle, Rhodey, Charlene Woodard as Vera, aka Fury's wife. And then we have Kobe Smulders and Martin Freeman reprising their roles respectively as Maria Hill and Everett K. Ross. So very packed of returning MCU alumni, but also we're getting some new characters, new people here in our story. How did you feel about the performances we got so far?
Wait, pause. This
Uh-huh.
dude, first of all, has a lot of gray hair in real life. You know, I like me a salt and
Yes.
pepper dude.
Yeah.
He's gonna be Bob Marley in the new Bob Marley movie.
Oh, is that him? I
That's
saw the
him.
trailer,
That's
but I
him.
didn't realize it was him.
That is him. Okay, I
Big
have a lot
things
more respect
are
for him.
going on. Big things are going on. Good
Yeah,
for
one love.
him.
Yeah, I think he's Trini or something, and he's gonna be in the Barbie movie. He's a Ken in the Barbie. Okay, anyways, I think the acting is fantastic. I don't have any notes for the acting whatsoever. I think Gravik is obviously a new character to us, but if I think the actor Kingsley is giving what is supposed to give because I feel like he is a proper. I guess technically he's the villain of the story, but like he kind of has a point. I empathize, sympathize, whatever. I feel his pain. Like I get where he's coming from. So for him to do that with acting, like he came out of nowhere. I don't know who this was. They gave us his entire background in like the first two episodes. And by the third episode, I'm like, I'm actually like not mad at you for doing the things that you're doing right now. It means that like the acting is pretty good. I have no notes for any of them. I think everyone is pretty good. Rhodey feels a little iffy, but we'll talk about that later.
um, okay, I have pushback on Kingsley.
Do
I
it.
adore him. I think in the first two episodes, amazing. Something about his performance in the third episode, specifically his meetup with, was it Talos?
Yeah.
I just feel like it was overacted. Something about it bothered. I don't know. Something about the performance bothered me, and because I think in my mind, Gravik is a little bit more cool, a little
Sure.
bit more, yeah, like I don't have to puff up my chest too much. I don't have to do all that rah, rah, rah. Like, I'm taking over the Skrull Council. I'm going
Mhm.
to bomb Russia and I'm going to take over the world. And in his conversation with Talos, it felt almost like manic. I don't know. It just,
I actually like that though, because in my opinion, the emotion behind that is coming from him obviously being angry at Talos for not being the general he was supposed to be, and
mm,
two, he knows that his daughter is like is working against him right now, so he's just all the way around, just like, yo, y'all supposed to be my family, and I don't have y'all backing me up. I feel a way about this.
air. I don't know. I think I might have to watch it again
Hmm.
to see if it really lands on me like a second time or a third time. But like that first time watching, I was just like, whoa, bro. I was like, take it down a notch. Like, chill out. Like, where is that cool, suave, you know what I'm saying, confident
He
graphic?
feels
Like,
betrayed. He
it
feels
felt like the inner
betrayed.
child trauma was coming.
That's exactly what it is. He feels
Yeah.
betrayed. I mean, that's the title of the third episode is betrayed. And I think that we're supposed to think of it from like Fury's point of view, especially by the end scene, but also like Gravik feels that as well. The other thing I would say too is that crap, I forgot what I was gonna say. Keep going. I forgot what I was gonna say.
It's all good. But yeah, the little boy in him was coming out, and I was just like, I didn't want to see that from my guy.
That's what I was gonna say. So
Mm-hmm.
before that scene, he's in the car with Danny. I'm gonna call her Danny. Danny, whatever. He's in the car with Danny with Queen
Gaia.
Gaia, the Queen of Dragons, the Queen of Skrulls, and he gets on the phone and he obviously gives like coordinates or like the time that something's supposed to take place. That was such a clear setup to me for her
Mm-hmm.
that going into that scene that you're talking about, in my head, I was like, oh, he already knows that she's the snitch. So he's like reacting to, he has all this in the back of his head, and like that's what this emotion is coming from. So
And
that's
even
probably why I viewed it a little bit differently.
yeah, and even after that scene, right? Like Gaia turns into like the old guy, bumps into her dad,
You
hands
saw
him
her.
Yeah, and then like Kingsley comes out, or not Kingsley, Graphic comes out and is like, this old man looks suspicious. Let me follow him. Disappears behind a truck. The truck moves, and then Gaia is standing there by the car, like, "Hey, you ready to go?" And
Right,
he,
especially because like why would you be standing outside in the car like hoping to see like a glimpse of your father? Like you know he's going in there to see your father, and you
yeah,
said nothing about that. That's
yeah,
super suspicious.
yeah. So I mean, okay, I get where the emotion is coming from. Something about the performance didn't land for me, but
Okay.
it's good. Are you happy to be back with Fury, with Talos? I mean, we did get Talos in Captain Marvel. We got Baby Gaia in Captain Marvel. Are
First
you
of all, she didn't have a name in Captain Marvel. They finally gave her a name in this show.
Maria Hill? We get
So
Skrull Ross. You know,
I like being back with Fury again. He's an uncle who disappeared on me, and I just don't know how I feel about that. So I'm still getting used to him. The fact that they killed off Maria shocked me, honestly. I wasn't expecting that. Um,
that was very upsetting for me. Not
yeah,
because
it's upsetting also because like we got introduced to her in the movies. We've seen her in all the movies. It's like to kill her off in a TV show feels like subpar. It doesn't feel like the right ending that I would want for Maria Hill. And on top of that, it felt like the whole killing off a woman in order to like galvanize the hero because he
fridging.
promised his fridging. He promised her mom that he was going to get to the bottom of it, and da, 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 and it's like, oh, did it take Maria dying for him to come to that conclusion? Like that wasn't necessary. But anyways, go ahead.
It really bothered me because, like you said, we've gotten clips of Maria before. Even though she's kind of been like this C-level character, she's been very consistent in the MCU and has been showing up in a lot of ways. And so to me, I felt like this was the opportunity to finally flesh her out, because
Mhm.
usually she's just showing up as Fury's sidekick, right? Not even like Ned level guy in the chair. Just like he calls her up, tells her what to do, and she runs and does it, basically, kind of thing. And so I felt like this was the time to really flesh her out, humanize her a little bit, let us get to know her. Like, if you kill her off, fine, but at least give us like 3 episodes with her. Because then when her mom pops up and is like, "You promised me," I was just like, I don't care. It didn't hit emotionally for me. It didn't land for me. So I was just like, I'm good on this. Like it didn't work the way I think the showrunners thought it would work. And
Yeah, I agree. And again, I didn't write it, but if I did, I
mhm,
probably would have fleshed out the first 2 episodes to be more about like Maria Hill reconsidering her relationship with Fury as well with some flashbacks. And maybe one of those flashbacks is her mom being like, I hope you know what you're doing. Like, do you really trust him? And like that would have set it up. Yeah, I know. I know. And then they could have they could have killed off Maria in the scroll when they went into Bob's home. If Maria was with them, Bob could have killed her, and then like she's still off the board and like all that stuff, whatever. So yeah, I feel like they miscalculated our emotional attachment to Maria. Not in a wholly detrimental way, just like a missed opportunity kind of way.
definitely, for sure. Totally agree. Circling back to Gravik a little bit,
Mhm.
and we discussed this before previously, but we've got another black villain. We've got another black villain. But okay, I want to say this. And we've kind of discussed this already before and everything like that. But I also like have heard other discussions and kind of have a slightly new perspective on it. Now, I am equal opportunity. I want to see black heroes, black villains, all that stuff, yada yada yada. I will say when we get black actors in the villain role, I feel like they tend to be more fleshed out than when we see them in a hero role.
They're not cartoony. I would agree.
Yes. They feel more three-dimensional to me because, and I want to, so let's kind of take it here, right? If we think about Falcon, Sam, and we think about Gravik, I feel more attached to Gravik than I have ever felt to Falcon. I it's been a long time since I've watched the show, the Disney Plus show, Falcon and Winter Soldier. But like that was the first time that we actually got Falcon's backstory and all that stuff and everything like that. But in a couple of episodes with Gravik, I feel like I understand him more. I feel like I know his motivation more. I want to watch him more than I have ever wanted to with Sam,
Mhm,
especially before Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
mhm.
to me, when we get these characters, when we get King, when we get I feel like they tend to flesh them out better versus when we get the heroes, they feel like this cardboard cutout of I'm just here to do good. And it's not as interesting.
I have a lot to say off of that,
Well,
that just came to my head. So first of all, remember what you said about the cardboard cutout for Black heroes, because I want to get back to that.
mhm.
But okay, for anyone who hasn't been keeping up with our pods, what Nessa is referring to, like the villain thing that she with Black villains or whatever, is that we're starting to see an increase in villains in the MCU being portrayed by Black individuals, right? On surface, not a problem. What I had mentioned to Nessa is that I'm a little not worried, but just like I want us to be conscious of the fact that there are little people growing up and seeing these movies for the first time with no context, with like not reading the comic books, not doing anything. This is their first introduction to fantasy stories. And I just want us to, as a culture, to be conscious of the fact that little people and not like adult people, like children, right? Um, they don't have the context. So if they are watching MCU movies or watching any movies and they constantly keep seeing Black people as the villain, that can have some pretty dire consequences, right? And so that's what I'm starting with. I would agree with you that the performances of the villains who are portrayed by Black actors, I don't think we've had a Black actress villain yet. Top tier, fantastic, right? I think part of that is like you really believe they're like their passion behind what they're doing, because as Black people we understand how race plays into that. Killmonger is a perfect understanding of that, right?
Mhm.
His entire villainry is based on his like the perception of race in the world that he grew up in, right? When you think about Kang, race doesn't really play a role in that like explicitly as we've seen so far, but based off of what we know about how Black men are treated and just like the performance, and like we know what like the looks on his face mean. Like it's there's a language there that we can pull out emotion in a way that I think might be a little bit harder across other races for villains and stuff like that. High Evolutionary probably didn't have to be Black. I think I'm glad he was. Like, it was a really really great performance, but probably didn't have to be Black. Gravik specifically is really interesting. I actually don't mind him being Black, and this is why I mind it because of the um the past history. We've had a couple of Black villains already, but
Yeah.
for this particular show, I love it because it shows how dedicated Gravik was to Fury. The fact that Gravik and Vera, what's his
Mhm.
girl's name, Vera,
Yeah.
they can choose any look in the world, and they choose to portray themselves as Black individuals. And the only logical and emotional thing that makes sense for that, knowing that they're going to get treated poorly because they're portraying themselves as a Black person, is they're doing that out of their love and loyalty to Fury. And so, in that sense, thinking about how this like makeshift family of like individual lone stars in the galaxy, Vera, Fury, and Gravik, came together and chose to be a family, chose to align their struggles as operating as fake humans in the world with the person that they feel indebted to, I think speaks huge volumes. Huge, huge, huge volumes. So Gravik being Black makes perfect sense. The other thing, I know, I'm ranting, but the other thing too is with the cookie cutter thing. I wonder if that's like, so you mentioned that Falcon feels cookie cutter, all things good, yada yada yada.
Up until we get Falcon and Winter Soldier. But
Yeah,
that's also like a 10-year build up.
you're absolutely right. Even with Rhodes, like he's a hero too, and I don't feel like I know any depth about him. I don't know his struggle. I don't know what he's had to overcome. I don't know. I guess I know his mission and passion, but for you to be so one note, I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier. How did he get like that? Like he wasn't like that forever. And so I think what Captain and Falcon and Winter Soldier did for Falcon was humanize us in a way that, okay, now we see the struggles that he had to go on with, how, like, what he's had to overcome to become the hero, basically,
Right. Right.
which we get to see with every other major hero, every other major Batman, every single one. We know the thing that they had to get over in order to become the hero they were meant to be. With great power comes great responsibility, all that jazz. But we don't really get that with the Black heroes.
That's true. And even like, and because I know somebody's gonna be like, well, he's just the sidekick and did it. No, because we know Robin's backstory and all his motivations and everything. And I'm talking about all the Robins across the board. So I mean,
Or even
there's a
if we stick with the MCU, we know Bucky's backstory. We know, well, what are the other sidekicks that there are? We now
well,
know Rocket's backstory. He's like kind of Quill's sidekick. Like,
but even okay, so but that was also like a 10-year buildup, right? But even before we got to Rocket's full backstory, there was always drops of gems of
mm-hmm,
like clearly he's always been struggling, right? Like in the first Guardian movie when he's fighting with Drax and he's like,
mm-hmm.
I didn't ask to be made this way. They ripped me apart and put me together. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
throughout the MCU, throughout other superhero stories, we get these backstories. We get at least glimpses in ways that I don't necessarily feel like we do if it is like a black sidekick or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I yeah, it's an interesting thing to really reflect on and think about. Let us know how you feel,
I
people.
actually, yes, please let us know. But I actually want to use this to pivot into a bullet point that's a little bit further on, but I feel like it makes sense to mention here. Let's
Yeah,
just talk about the race in the MCU right
yeah,
now.
we can jump into all the major discussion stuff. Go for it.
Yeah. And so one thing that stood out to us, and I think a lot of Black people on the interwebs, is the scene between Rhodey and Fury in the restaurant, right? First of all, Rhodey shows up on our screen. It's like, oh yeah, Rhodes is back. Why he got so many people around him? One. He does
Mm.
because he never travels with like with an entourage. That's just not the Rhodey we know. And two, why is he being so standoffish against Fury? Like I'm just like everybody's angry at him. I get it, he left, but like Rhodey has had an attitude with people. He's like, you need to get your stuff together. Like that is Rhodey, but not as like fiery, I feel like, as he was towards Fury. And I just love that Fury, that they weren't afraid to portray the Black people got to stick together
Mhm.
aspect of that's kind of like the undercurrent of a lot of, if you work in corporate as a Black individual, you know what I'm talking about. Like the whole all skin folk and kinfolk
Mhm.
nuance within predominantly non-Black spaces. That's what that felt like to me. Fury being like, yo, I thought we were supposed to be brothers. Like you could at least give me a heads up or like whatever. Like why are you coming at me like this? And then realizing that not all skin folk are kinfolk, literally, with this, because I think Brody is a Skrull.
I do too.
Called
I do
mixing.
too. But yeah, if you look back on the history of Rhodey Rhodes, right? He's always aligned himself with the system. He's a soldier. He's always been in the government. When they had the Sokovia Accords, he wanted it to be signed, and somehow, some way, he's risen the ranks to like be right there with the president. I don't know what he does now. I don't know what he been doing, but the boy been putting in some work. Okay, he been putting in that overtime. He been putting in his hours, and so now he's all the way at the top. And I think sometimes too, and I think what the MCU is hitting on is sometimes when you get some folks who get up to the top, suddenly it's like, hey, I made it here. Like, you're not about to mess with what I got going on. So either get in line or get out. Or just because I'm up here doesn't mean I got to help you get here. Like, I had to do what I had to do. So you figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rhodey is very much that that shade of black person. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? The system isn't great, but we can make changes from within. So let
Mm-hmm.
me get in the system, let me work it, let me see how we can, what we can do and everything like that. Where Fury is very much like, I get that we got systems, but I also know the system is really messed up. So I'm gonna do my stuff on the side to make sure that we good, so that if the system fails us, I know I set myself up to be okay. You know what I mean?
Literally, because Fury has like you saw he just went to a random garage and was like, "Oh, here's my car," and just like
I'm like, you just got cars like spread around the world, like just waiting for you. Like I feel like in the jungles of Colombia somewhere, like under a patch of grass, there's just a car waiting for him. Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? And then even him, like, and we'll touch on this a little bit more too, but even him, like, his relationship with the Skrulls, right?
Mhm.
Bringing them here, like, the US government wasn't supposed to know about that, and the way he uses the Skrulls, they're not supposed to know about that. And so Fury is always working outside of the system while simultaneously being a part of it.
And trying to support it. It's not like he's trying to tear it down. It's
Yes.
just like, well, I have access to information that other people don't. So let me try to do what I can to support where I can.
Right. And then we kind of get this third shade, which is Gravik, right? Who is just like, the system failed me. It sucks.
Anarchy.
Anarchy. Anarchy. Right? He's like, let's take this stuff for ourselves. And it was so I love this line that he had when he was like, I forgot, somebody was like calling him out on all the violence and everything like that. And he was like, this is what these people understand.
Hmm.
Like they don't understand anything else. They understand savagery. They understand violence. They understand, and it felt very like Malcolm X-ish of him to
But
be,
I mean, it's necessary.
yeah, you know. And so I love that we're getting these different representations of how Black folks tend to operate in this world,
In
and
and around the system, yeah.
yeah, and I think they're doing it very smartly. So kudos to the MCU for pulling that out. I love
I
it.
will also add quickly, now that we're talking about race, really quickly, that there's a piece of this too that feels like a commentary on what happens when the Black dad leaves and decides to come back. So you and I didn't talk about this beforehand, so and it's not on the docket, so I'm bringing this up
Right.
off the top of my head. But when we think about the other Black stories that are told in the MCU, Wakanda Forever and the original Black Panther movie resonates with us because it plays on common themes within the Black community. The whole like Black American not feeling like they're from the African diaspora. Like that was the first movie. The second movie is like, well, Black men are consistently pulled from the Black family unit. What happens when they're pulled from the Black family unit? How are the women that are left in the family supposed to operate? How do they protect themselves against everyone who's coming for them? How do they rely on other Black elders in their sphere, like with Mbaku and Shuri and all that jazz? How it would make sense for us to start feeling like we have a lot in common with another minoritized group of people, like the Submariners. Is that their name? Talocons?
There you go.
Taloquians? What is it?
The Talcons, I think it is.
Telecon? Whatever. Them, the fish people. Um, yeah, like we empathize a lot with that, but again, now asking folk or kinfolk, and believe me, I'm like Wakanda forever, like all that stuff. But at the same time, we saw with that even Namor is like they're still them. Like we have something in common, but they're still them, and we're still us.
Mm-hmm.
With Fury in this show, I think that this is like a really, really interesting commentary on the no black male figure father in the household trope that, we have to deal with as a society. And I just think it's really interesting to see like the animosity from the people that really believed in him.
Yeah.
The responsibility he feels to having left. Like I don't think we got a lot of that just yet. He's still just trying to like fix the problem. I don't
Mm.
think he's really internalized that he like really caused the problem. And how literally the whole world can go to shit because one dad left.
Honestly. And like the unfortunate part of it is, right, the first time he left is because he was actually taken from the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and is like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna go to space. And
He's
everybody's like,
traumatized.
so when we meet Vera and we find out that he has a wife, I was like, wait, bro, like you were gone for 5 years, came home for a hot quick minute, and went back to space when you have a wife here. and granted, like she fully knows what she's getting herself into, right? She was like, it's not that I expected you to stay at home and, be this doting husband, but the fact that you left the way you left when we all needed you here, and like went to space and was barely, like, could barely get in contact with you, anything like that. And so it was interesting to watch that play out. And I was just like, damn, you really left these folks.
He really
Like,
did. But here's the thing: he could have took her in Gravik.
he could at least took her.
He could have at least taken her. Yes, at the minimum, he could have taken her. But he could have taken Gravik too. Gravik was an accomplished individual when he popped up on his radar. Like, have them be in charge of patrolling the sky, controlling the universe around Earth. Like,
I'll also say, like, we don't know exactly when Gravik kind of took this rebellion turn.
We don't, but we can tell from the way they set it up that like there was a fatherly son dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah. So I'm just curious to kind of know, at what point was Gravik like, oh, nah, he's not gonna help us. Like, I want to know when I'm curious to know if that all happened around the snap, if that was happening before, if it happened after Fury came back. Like,
well, we don't know. Gravik could have got snapped too. I think it would. I think it would. I would assume that it happened after Fury came back from the snap and chose to leave.
I feel like it might have happened during the snap.
Oh, maybe.
I think he was pulling it together as that happened.
Mm.
Because just thinking of how, like, they have the colonies throughout, like, the nuclear power plants,
Mm-hmm.
to me it's like, it feels like everybody else, like when the snap happened and people disappeared and people started trying to cluster,
Oh,
it kind of felt like that for me. So it feels like that 5 years was enough for them to cluster together, make these colonies, but also like really fine tune their network
yeah.
and assume identities without people really noticing too much, right? Because it's like people disappearing left and right, anyways. So it's like,
That's a good point. That's a
if I
great
get the
point.
person over, who's really gonna know? Who gonna check me, boo?
Who's gonna check me? Especially if I move to another country. They don't care.
Yeah. So I think that was my read on it. I don't know. Who
Good
knows?
point. That's a good point. But I mean, we're already 35 minutes into a show that we said was fine, right? Like there's a lot.
Good stuff here. I think that's what I should have said too. There's good stuff here. It's just something about it is not meshing all the way
Mhm.
together for me. But the it's there. It's there. It's there. It's there.
Mhm.
It's got good bones. It's
Yeah.
got good bones.
Anything else
Um,
you can say about race in the MCU?
nah, that's all I got.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to hop into Fury's Promise though, since
Yeah,
we're kind
let's
of
do
like
that. Yeah.
running around in many ways. So after so if you see in Captain Marvel, the Skrulls are basically refugees. They bring them to Earth, and then Fury apparently makes a promise to them that he is going to find them a new home, a new planet. And in 30 years didn't do it. He just didn't do it. And so, but what he ends up doing is, when he makes this promise, he's like, look, I'm gonna find you a home, but while you here, I'm gonna need y'all to go to work.
I'm gonna need you to hold your weight.
I'm gonna need you to hold your weight. This is quid pro quo. This, my deal ain't free. You gotta
Mhm.
give me something. And so basically creates a whole network of secret spy Skrulls who gather all this intel for him. So all these years when we've been like, dang, how Fury know this, how he know how to show up, how he knows all, it's the Skrulls. The Skrulls have been doing it for him.
Mhm.
And so with all of that, do you feel like Fury still owes them a home? Do you think they have a right to be upset? It's been a long time.
So I would argue that if Fury was stopping them from finding their own home, then yes. But I
Hmm.
don't know enough to like if it almost feels a little weird for them to put 100% trust in Fury.
It
Like,
does.
okay, he's a human, never been to space before he met y'all, but you're gonna trust him to find. I guess he had Captain Marvel to do a lot of it too. So should they
And
be mad at him or Captain Marvel?
I think they need to be mad at the white lady. Is what I think. Honestly, they need to be mad at her. Because it's like they are from space. They know how big space is. They know how many planets there are. So it is very interesting to me that in the 30 years, no one has been like, hey, what about this place? Or what about that place? Or we've heard of this place. Or let's go. I mean, well, I don't know how they would go exploring, but
But they have technology that we don't. We saw what they did with with Veers's brain, like got into her memories and stuff like that. Like their technology is clearly more advanced than ours. They probably could be able to find a planet somewhere that might be suitable. Even if they
yeah,
can't get to it, they still might be able to find it. It's like I don't understand why Fury has been the bottleneck for y'all.
that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think yeah. I think at this point is I think in the beginning it was okay to be upset about it. And but at a certain point you gotta realize like this person really not about to do what they said they was gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we're out here just yes, he's sheltering us in the terms of he hasn't revealed
Agree.
us. We can kind of move in secret here, but he also is very much using us as well. It's a mutual relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but at a certain point, I expected them to be like, okay, we're not getting our own home, but I also understand they want a place to be themselves.
Yes, but so they're like, well, Fury didn't give us what we wanted, so we're gonna take it and just have it here. It's like you don't. You can also take it from somewhere else. You don't have to take it from here.
Just
Like
ghost us, honestly.
just leave, just go and be like, you know what, Fury, screw you. We have the technology. Like we've been spending the last 5 years building our own ships so we can like figure out our own stuff. Because quite honestly, a million. Okay, if you had a million humans and a million Skrulls, who do you think would be able to protect themselves against the Kree better?
Skrulls.
So why they here waiting for humans to keep them safe? That makes no sense.
It's a weird, yeah. It's just a weird concept to think that they would depend on him so badly. I don't.
That's that slave mentality. Let's listen. All right, call me a king and grand rising, all that jazz. But that
But the
because literally they are, in my opinion, stronger than humans. Like they have
100%.
what?
Yeah,
So why do they think that they're trapped here on Earth? I mean, Gravik's kind of like, oh, we're stronger than them. Let's take over Earth. Fine, but you could also just leave and go find your own.
really could, really could, really could. But I guess it's also one of those things where it's like we know how things operate here, so to show up on another planet and just try to. But then I feel like there's also like when in Guardians, I
Mm.
forget what planet they're on, but when Gamora first meets Star Lord and is trying to take
On
the
Xandar?
there you go. There's a million different races on that one planet.
Well,
So
Xander's destroyed now. Remember Thanos?
okay, yes, yeah, there's that. But I'm just saying, there's probably other planets like that where different races of um, aliens, I guess, for lack of a better word, with different race, species and all that stuff, can live together in some sort of harmony or just
Yeah,
some
like
sort.
nowhere.
Yes, like nowhere. So I mean, I don't know. I think they should have used their self-starting mentality and got their things going
Not
and
everyone's an entrepreneur. That's fine.
got it's all good. It is what it is. Um Maria, we talked about Maria's death and how that didn't really land with her mom.
Yeah,
Sonia, we did not talk about Sonia.
we did
So
not talk about Sonya.
Sonia, I love this character.
He annoys the hell
I,
out of me.
I love this character. I do. Just her interactions with Fury also kind of gives me like old lovers vibe. I'm not even
I
gonna.
thought that that's where they were going to go with that. I did. I did.
It must
The
give
fact that she puts the eye patch on the owl, like, come on.
me.
Come on.
I'm like, oh yeah, I used to get down. Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to get
guys,
down.
yeah, yeah. At least at the minimum, y'all never actually got down. You know what it's giving me? It's giving me Black Widow, Hawkeye vibes a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. There's something here. There's
Like
something here.
she knows about his black wife.
Possibly. That wouldn't surprise me.
Like
But,
Black Widow knew about Hawkeye's wife.
but I love her. She is like, um, oh man, she's witty. but also is not afraid to get her hands dirty. When
and
she gets
super
in there,
competent.
yeah, very competent. When she gets in there, she starts torturing the Skrull. Like, first of all, she's like, I'm gonna just cut off your finger. Let's see. Let's test this theory. Like, she's not even playing games. She's like, let's get to the point. Let me cut your finger off. Ah, you're a Skrull. Great. All right, let the torture begin. And it's so wild. Like, she almost feels like the female version of Fury a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I really, really like her. I like her introduction. I'm very curious to see where her character is going to wind up by the end of the series. I would love for them to bring her into the wider MCU world.
Here's the thing. She feels Valentina-esque.
Hmm.
Can we have two of those around? Is the question.
I say yes.
I think yes, also.
I
But
say
it's like we still don't even know where Valentina is on the spectrum of good versus bad.
yes.
And
Hmm.
she's kind of out too on the good versus bad, in my opinion. I think that's why she annoys me because I can't tell what side she's on. Usually like I like a conflicted character like Snape or Jamie Lannister, but she just annoys me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna reserve. I think it's interesting that she exists, and essentially we're supposed to believe that she's the one that's been keeping eye on things in Fury's absence. Or
Hmm.
like trying to keep a handle on things. I think Valentina's been trying to capitalize on Fury's absence, which is
Hmm.
probably the difference between the two of them. So she's fine, but also just like whatever, Queen Elizabeth. Like she played Queen Elizabeth in the Crown. Shut up.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why she's throwing me off, is because I know her to be like Queen Elizabeth in the Crown.
Well, Queen Elizabeth gets down. Talos's lie. This was not surprising to me, but also very interesting. So we get this train scene between Fury and Talos, where basically Fury's like, "Let's play 21 questions," and Talos reveals that there are actually a million Skrulls living on Earth.
So why after sometime between the 90s and now, Talos and his people successfully contacted the million scrolls that were spread across the entire universe
Mm-hmm.
and brought them all to Earth. So you can contact those MFers, but you can't find another place to go.
Right. In those conversations, was nobody like, actually,
It's
this
chill here.
place
You
is
should come
really
here.
nice. Like, why don't you come visit? You know what I'm saying? Now here's the thing for me too, right? You've contacted these folks, they get there. How do they arrive undetected? Because
That's a good
even in the snap, we still have Black Widow, Rocket, Gamora, Captain Marvel are out there patrolling the universe. So I don't understand how they were able to arrive undetected. That part, I don't know. That part messes with me. And then the question is like, when did they arrive? Was it during the snap? Was it after everybody came back? I
I would assume it was slowly over the last 30 years.
Just in waves.
Yeah, to get a million people back. I mean, if you think about it this way, if we assume every single alien sighting from 95 until 2004 or 5, whatever the year they're in the MCU, was somebody dropping off some scrolls.
I love that. I actually really like that all the UFO sightings that we've seen have actually been scrolls coming
That's
through.
why you can't find none of the aliens. They just drop them off and they turn into a human and they just like skedaddle.
That's gonna stay with me for a while. I actually
You're
really,
welcome.
really
You're welcome.
I actually really like that idea that it was a slow wave. It wasn't this big migration.
No, I don't think it was a big. I think it was a migration, obviously, but I think the actual physicality of dropping people off happened in like the UFO sightings.
That makes sense. And also, yeah. And I think that also fits into the theory too, because before the incident in New York
Hmm.
with Loki
Hmm.
and the Chitauri, I don't think anyone from Earth was really like going out into space as we know it right now. So it would make sense that no one's out there patrolling, nobody's out there really checking in and like paying too much attention to these things, which is also Because then now I feel like that adds another level of deception on Taylor's behalf because
He was able to sneak everybody in. I mean, if he's Fury's right hand in this like secret operation thing, he has complete access to Area 51 and to be able to cover up all of the sightings and dropping people off and stuff like that, which is why that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh, Taylor's just UFOs.
yeah,
That's him.
Taylor should have been, if anybody or anyone, the Skrulls and Taylor should have been the ones to be like, hey, this could happen. Something's going on here. Or like, you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, that definitely like and Fury was like, I think this is your stop. And Talos actually gets off. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
I was like, that's a power play. I did not expect Talos to actually get. I Fury doing that was like such a black thing to me. It's like I think it's time for you to go.
I'm ready to go.
I think it's time for you to go. And
I'm
I was
ready
like, ooh. But Talos actually getting up and leaving. I was just like,
for real got off the train, bro. I would have been like, I'll go to another car. You need to pull
yeah,
that. We'll
yeah.
talk about this later. Like,
Talk to you later.
but this but this show also always remind like things like this always remind me of why I could never be a super spy. Cause ain't no way I'ma just get off at a stop where I've never been and have no plan and just be like, okay. like,
Oh,
like that's just not me. I don't know.
he's a scroll. He can switch into whoever he wants.
He can, but I'm saying for me, absolutely not. I'd have been like, I'll be in the next car. Call me when you're ready. Because
Right.
right now my plans are tied in with you. So
Mm-hmm.
we're in this
Mm-hmm.
together. I don't know what you
Mm-hmm.
want. Yes. So and then we have all these scrolls here, and we get to meet the Scroll Council, who we also find out that Talos was kicked off of. Because I don't know. They was like, you gotta go. But we meet the Scroll Council and especially meet them with Gravik coming through and being like, yep, I bombed Russia. And guess what? Here's my super secret plan. And it was obviously not surprising because if you know you have Skrulls, you know they're going to infiltrate government and high seats of and all these things. But it was interesting to me to watch how Gravik walked up in there, uninvited, by the way, and just like laid it all out there. And in doing that, got most of them onto his side, except for like that one lady who called up. I think she called up Talos, right? And was like,
Mm-hmm.
your boy's acting up. I don't know.
He let her go was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
He
He
was
got,
like, I respect your honesty and your candor. I'm not going to hurt you. Go ahead. I mean, we
he's,
haven't seen her since, but still.
he's innocent. This is true. This is true. And I loved how somebody was like, well, what about the Avengers, right? Because I think always in these stories, we're like, well, where are the other Avengers? And so they're like, what about the Avengers? And he's like, don't worry about that. You think I didn't think about that? Like, I got that covered. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interesting to see how that's going to unfold in terms of like how he has that covered. AKA, are some of our Avengers scrolls?
Ooh.
Mm,
Wait, okay, wait, stop, full stop. In order for an Avenger, in order for a Skrull to be an Avenger, I mean, obviously, there's one that I think we both know, Rhodey,
mhm.
right? But it can't be. I would assume a Skrull can't imitate powers. So anyone who's super powered, they probably wouldn't be able to imitate. So it would have to be someone like Rhodey, Hawkeye. Nat's gone. Who else we got?
That's a good one. Who else do we have that's not
I guess
powered?
Winter Soldier, but like
Could be. Could be. Um,
anyone who's like on Earth, I would guess, besides Peter.
I was I
Peter
was
Parker.
thinking this. Light comics spoiler alert. I didn't casual fangirl privilege invoked also. Like I didn't read the comics. These are things that I heard on the interwebs and conversations. But scrolls had like if they shapeshift long enough into a person, they can forget that they're a scroll. So can
Oh.
also fit into like they don't even know themselves like they forget, and so that's a possibility. Also in the comics there were some Avengers who were scrolls. I don't remember who they were, but so I mean Will the MCU go in this direction? I don't know, but it's a possibility. There is precedence for it. So who knows? Is it jogging your brain now?
I'm just like thinking of the possibilities. You know how my brain does.
Yes. There's so many possibilities now, which is part of the intrigue about the show and what makes it interesting, but we just don't know which way they're gonna end up going with everything.
Damn.
Yeah,
Anybody can be a scroll.
you never know.
I like it.
So we covered Talos, Gaia, Miss Amelia Clark, Dany Targaryen, the Mad Queen herself. So we gently meet her, lightly meet her in the Captain Marvel movie, and so now she's all grown up and has decided to join the rebel causes and defect against Fury and her dad, and is rolling with Gravik. Now, I definitely thought that they was gonna have a little Gravik Gaia fling going on, especially because when we see that flashback and we realize like they meet each other as kids.
Mm-hmm.
There was something here. There
Mm-hmm.
was something here, but I don't know if they're gonna go with it. Maybe we'll see more in the flashback, but spoiler alert: the way it ends
So we
is,
think she's actually dead.
huh?
So we think she's actually dead.
I don't think she's actually dead, to be honest. I think like in the next episode, she's gonna like and then roll over and end up like crawling her way there. Um,
Agree. Like it feels too early to kill her off.
it does. The fact that it is Amelia Clark,
Right.
it very much surprised me.
I mean, they didn't use Jon Snow, so
Yet there's still,
they
there's time.
haven't even come out with like a release date for that. What was it called? The Dark Knight, Black Knight,
I don't
Starry
know.
Night. What is it?
I don't know. I just know he has the obsidian blade. I think is what it's called. But I have no idea.
Black Knight.
But I think just like how I want to understand more of when and how Gravik started his rebellion, I'm curious to know at what point also did Gaia go over to Gravik's side, or was she always on Gravik's side? We know that her mother dies. She didn't even know her mom died. Like she runs she runs into her dad and her dad's like, "Oh, by the way, your mom's dead." And she's like, "Um, okay." Like I was just like, and this is what I mean by the show has good bones, but like the delivery is not all the way there. In what world?
Do we know how she died?
I don't. He says that it's because of Gravik and the rebellion. So
I
I
had
don't.
to rewatch the first scene
Mhm.
because I wonder if she was a casualty in trying to help stop Gravik and stuff like that. I just
I'm
gotta like,
sure. I'm
yeah.
sure that's what it was. We don't have like details of whether it was Gravik who delivered the blow or if it was just, hey, it's us against Gravik, and so obviously people are gonna die. And
Mhm.
Talos is gonna be like, well, your man's did it, so what you think about that?
Mhm.
But at some point within there, she decides to work with her dad secretly, right? And
After she finds out her mom's dead.
I don't know if that was necessarily the point because when they do the whole backpack bomb thing, I'm not convinced of how aware she was that the backpacks got switched. A part of me feels like Gravik just be in the know and is like, you know what? Because somebody was like, "How did you know Fury is going to be there?" He was like, "I didn't, but I had a pretty good idea that he would." And to me, that feels like he might have planned it out where it was like, "Yeah, sure, these people are going to have the bomb, but no, they're not. Magic trick. Guess what?" And so I don't know if that was I to me almost that might have been part of the catalyst of like, oh, wait, now I'm not even really in the inner circle. Like he even tricked me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with my dad. Uh,
Yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, it's unclear, but That's
Mhm.
how I would like to interpret it. It makes it more interesting to me.
I would agree. I would agree. Real quick though, that made me think. Can you imagine how it must have felt for Maria Hill to be shot by Nick Fury?
I would like to think that she would know it wasn't him though.
I mean,
It
at the end she
the
didn't, but like in the
face.
moment, it's like, oh snap.
Yeah, it sucks to see the face, but I think once she realizes like the gun is pulled out against her, she's like, "Oh, he's a Skrull." I think she knew. Like, I don't think she died thinking that that Fury killed her. That would be. I know where you're going with that emotionally, and yes, emotionally, that would be some messed up crap. But yeah, I think she needs.
What I think it is an obvious symbolization of what Fury feels anyway, which is that he caused her death. That's what that is. It's just like a visual like metaphor for Fury causing her death, which I guess he did. I don't know.
I think would have been more interesting is if there was footage that got leaked, and it's like Fury's out here killing his own people. Like, I
You didn't
think
write it, but if you did,
I didn't write it, but if I did, I would have made it so that footage got leaked out. So, because he's already on the run, but to add that on top of him being on the run, I think
at
would have
least for the
been,
US government to see, that would be really interesting. Like even
yeah,
if it doesn't leak out to the world, but if Rhodey got his hands on it and was like, Fury, look what you did. He's like, that wasn't me. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to really believe that wasn't you? Yes,
right.
because if you just watch 2 or 3 more seconds, I'm gonna pop up. Like
I pop up once again. But you know, movies are gonna movie, so the tape is gonna delete after the shooting,
Mhm.
basically. So yeah, I mean, I don't think she's done for yet. I think she's gonna come back in some sort of way. If she is done for, it's gonna piss me off that there's two fridgings in one series because now this is supposed to what motivate Talos even more, motivate Fury even more. I just yeah no,
My
I
wife
need
died for this. My daughter died for this. I have nothing now because of you.
her given everything.
If Talos wins an award for this show, I'll be pissed.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
because Angela didn't get hers.
she did the thing, and she didn't
Because
get one.
Angela Bassett did the thing and still didn't get one. That freaking sucks. But you know, playing. Gravik has a plan
Mhm.
to create super scrolls using powered DNA. Stop me.
Mhm.
If you've heard this one before.
Weapon X, weapon, super soldiers.
Want to create an army of super soldiers. Stop us if you've heard this one before. What?
Now I'm thinking about the scientists because I actually didn't piece together the super soldier thing until you just said it just now.
Oh, yeah. Because they're using what they call powered DNA. I don't really understand where they got the DNA from or how they're doing this or what's happening. I don't know who
Can they
the.
turn into the Hulk?
I feel like that's what they're going for. I feel like they're trying to make themselves on the levels of the Avengers because they're already base level is super strong, have endurance, durability, all that stuff. But like you said, they can't necessarily mimic powers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Base level, they are super soldiers already.
Right.
So now I think they're trying to enhance themselves even more to make themselves that way. Because remember when what's his name? Gravik gets stabbed by Talos, which is also very wild. That was because first of all, your man's got up and everybody turned into Gravik, and then and then he gets up and stabs him, but nobody moves. And I was just like, what's the point? I don't know. I didn't understand all that, but whatever. Anyways,
First
stab.
of all, wait. Taylor's is like, keep my daughter's name out your mouth.
Keep her mother effing name out your mother effing mouth.
He's been hanging out with Fury for a while. I'll just leave that and say that. Say that.
But yeah, he stabs Gravik, and then Gravik ends up healing. So clearly, he's been testing on himself. So they're playing with powers. I don't know if they're trying to turn into X-Men. I don't know what's going on, but they're out here trying to figure that out, which somewhat answers the, how are they going to take care of the Avengers problem. So I'm interested to see
Hot
more
take.
about that process. Mm-hmm.
When his hand regenerated, it reminded me a lot of the Iron Man 3 Mandarin
Mm,
extremis plot. It
mm,
even glowed like it. Do you
mm.
remember? Like it even
Yes,
like they used the same CGI
yes,
I guess is what I can say to
yes.
show him fixing his hand as they showed as they portrayed extremis in Iron Man 3. And I wonder if that's all this is. Like if this doctor is just a remnant of AIM.
Tony
Listen,
Stark does it again. Damn it,
this
Tony.
Fury really that it is. Fury didn't know the Hydra was in there. He didn't know that AIM was. Come on, it's Fury. So busy worried about all these other. Too busy
Scroll.
not worried about his own. Worried
He's
about some
this
other.
Punani. His Scroll son to be worried about Nazis and Hydra.
Right. Wow.
Tell you, it'll do wonders to people.
I mean, if you're a scroll in the bedroom, I get it. I get why Fury would be hooked.
And it's very clear that Vera picked a physical features that would appeal directly to Fury. Because when he meets her, clearly she's been shifting into
Mhm.
different. Because then when he didn't recognize her right away until they started talking, and then he's like, "Ooh, this new shape you've taken." She's like, "What? It's beautiful, huh?" And he was like, "You know."
Watching people flirt is always so uncomfortable to me. I'll be like, no.
So
You
I
find
was,
out if Fury got Riz.
she been plotting. She been plotting and
He
scheming.
was. And she had a whole backstory too. She was just like, since I'm a secret, I technically don't work for you. And he was like, I like that loophole.
You're not my boss. So what's up?
He was like, that's a good point.
That is a good point. I mean, I love it. I love it for them. But I don't even know where we were.
Oh, okay. I think the last thing we need to talk about really quickly before we get into last thoughts
Yeah.
is do we think Gravik is an effective leader? Like, do we think he actually, one, can get shit done? Two, is that the way? I guess, like, do we think his plan is going to work?
I think yes. I think he's an effective leader. I think he's the thing I like about him is that he knows that the mission is bigger than him.
Mm.
Because when that Skrull walks in and like Graphic is like, well, what's the mission? And he's like, you are. And he's like, no. He's like, the hell are you talking about? He's like, no, a home in our own skin is the mission, not me. Like, I'm just big brain. big. And so like I think that shows that he can be an effective leader because he knows that the mission is bigger than him. And all he's here to do is to carry that out and make sure that his people achieve the goal. He's not afraid to get dirty. We see him going there to try and rescue his friend.
Mhm.
He's on the battlefield. He is the general. He's soldier, general, lieutenant, all of the above. And so
Do
I
we think
think
he killed his friend for no reason? If he knew that the dude didn't know where they were going?
I think they did. I think he did though. I think he still revealed important information.
He
Yeah,
did, but he gave the name of the scientist, right? But
yeah.
he didn't know where they were going, and they killed him because it made it seem like he gave up their safe house. But then in the next episode, Gravik was like, he didn't know where we were going, so how could he have snitched on us? Only the people who knew where we were going was the three of us in the car, and that's
Yeah,
why Gaia was like, oh, he probably took an educated guess. It's like,
yeah, you're right. He killed his friend for no reason.
killed his
Dang.
friend for no reason.
Dang, yeah. That's probably why he was extra mad at Gaia too. He was like, nah, you gotta go down for this. Um, but yeah, But I think all in all, he's someone that is easy to get behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. He gets stuff done. He gets it done. So I ain't
Yeah, I
mad.
don't know who he's dating.
Huh?
If he wasn't dating Gaia, who is he dating in the Skrulls?
I guess nobody. He focused on the mission. He married to the job. No. I think he's just married to the job. He is focused. He's so hell bent on getting revenge on his daddy that went missing.
There are Skrull children in that camp.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Skrulls
people
are
are.
getting down.
Yeah, 100%. I just don't think.
So you think the general is not gonna get down? I would get
Ah,
down with Gavik. I
he
would.
got a secret girlfriend up in there. Possibly. Who knows? It would be fun if his girlfriend was actually human somewhere. He got to see. So
Do
Fury
we
has
think
a
the
secret
doctor?
squirrel wife, and
Huh?
he has a secret human family. That's what I'm going to go.
That's
Graphic.
fun.
What were you going to say?
Um, do we think the doctor, the scientist, is a Skrull or human?
I think they're human. I think
Interesting.
they're humans. I actually kind of like your theory that they might be from AIM.
Mm-hmm.
Just lost Tony Stark workers who've been
Well,
scooped
there,
up.
there were probably Skrulls in AIM. You think there were Skrulls in Hydra? There were probably Skrulls in Hydra.
Yeah, 100%. For sure. For sure.
Hydra's not dead. They could just shift into somebody else.
All right, you ready to hop in last thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, who do you think is a Skrull?
Definitely Rhodey.
Brody.
I have my suspicions on the president as
Mm.
well. Um, I think someone in the Avengers is gonna be a scroll.
I think Rhodey is that person. I think people forget that he's an Avenger.
I think there's someone else.
I
I
think there's
think
someone else also.
I think Bucky would be a good plan.
Easy. That would be easy.
I think that would be good. Also, because like he has that whole um Hydra relationship. He was already a spy out here in these streets.
He can blame any sort of memory loss on just him being brainwashed and all that jazz.
Yeah. So I think that would be, and he would, maybe not. I was gonna say he might be close enough to get some Avengers secrets, but
They don't need that when they got Rhodey. It's more so about having a sleeper agent, right?
true.
Which is essentially what he is. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think of anybody else I think who could be a Skrull.
I think definitely moving forward though, we're going to get some reveals of
Yeah, they're not going to kill off all 1 million Skrulls in the show. That's not happening, right? It's just not happening. So it's like at the end of the show, one, we know that Fury's going to live because he's in the Marvels movie.
yeah.
But two, but two, right? Two, they're not going to get rid of 1 million Skrulls in 3 episodes. There's no way to even do that because you can't even identify all of them. So it's like they're gonna have to figure out a way to one agree to like keep living together, but four, three, whatever number I'm on, Fury's gonna want to know who's a Skrull and who's not. And I think at the minimum or at the maximum in a post credit scene, we're gonna get some sort of hint that somebody
And
is
I
a
think it's going to lead to an interesting conversation of like, we have these scrolls out here. Do we need them to identify themselves? Right? Which
Oh, that's gonna turn into X
very
Men real quick.
feels very Nazi, feels very Hitler.
That's gonna turn into X Men real quick. Register as an X Man
Mm-hmm.
as someone who's a mutant so that we can get a register going, and then that's gonna then making it gonna pop out of nowhere and be like, gotta be quicker
So,
than that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a few interesting ways that we could take this whole thing, and I'm
Mhm.
interested to see where it goes. Do you think Gravik is gonna die?
I think he has to
I think he will too.
for the sake of this show.
They always keep killing off all the good ones, and I'm
Of
just
course,
like,
still alive.
who?
High Evolutionary still alive, and Kang's still alive.
They are. Well, we don't know where we're going with King at this point, but that's a
Yeah.
whole different story. Um, is the High Evolutionary still alive?
Apparently, yeah. I saw afterwards that like the showrunners or movie producers, someone was like, we didn't see him die.
Okay.
And they said that they just have him on nowhere.
Okay. I guess. What's his name is still alive too? The one from Winter Soldier, the villain. Starts with a B, is it? The dude, no, the dude from Sokovia.
Oh,
Zemo.
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 I like
Zemo.
Zemo.
Zemo's still out there somewhere. Call him
Well,
up.
Wakanda grabbed him
Oh,
because remember he killed T'Chaka. They grabbed him up at the last minute at the end of Winter
no, but
Soldier.
then he gets out during Falcon and Winter Soldier.
No, he was locked up in like a US in like a not Wakandan thing, like a UN thing, and they broke him out. And then at the end, Zemo went back to Sokovia and was like by the like memorial of what happened in Sokovia. And then
Mhm.
Wakanda chicks, the Dora Milaje popped up. And he was like, okay, like I'm ready. Like, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, interesting.
So they think he should be locked up in Wakanda or dead.
Okay. I need to go back and rewatch Falcon and Winter
I thought
Soldier.
about that too.
I need to do that. I feel like a lot of things happen.
Mhm.
I need to go
I
back.
was interested. Someone on Instagram posted like the official timeline for like everything since Endgame. Like for example, the first mini Groot episode, which I actually haven't seen those yet, takes place right after the first Guardians movie, and then
Hmm.
the other three takes place after the second Guardians movie, and it's like you know, there's different things that now fill in the entire timeline in a way that I don't want to do an entire rewatch, but I kind of do.
At some point, it'll happen.
Lawrence is doing a rewatch right now. Right now.
Amazing. I can't bring myself to do it right now. I have like
Yeah, I think I gotta wait for.
I have so many things going right now.
I
Like,
think I gotta wait for like the end of phase. Whatever the culmination of phase 6 is, I'll do the entire rewatch before then.
okay, got it, got it.
So before this phase's endgame, I'll
Hmm.
do a rewatch, I guess. Anyways,
Any
any
other?
other questions?
I was gonna say any other deaths you think might be coming?
Deaths? You mean in this show?
Yeah, in the show.
Oh,
Gravik. We can agree that Gravik is definitely gonna die. Okay.
I think Fury's wife is gonna die.
Ooh.
I think she's gonna die. She's clearly working with Gravik, so I think she's gonna get caught up in the crosshairs. And
Yes,
she asked to speak to Gravik.
she could be a double agent. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get her yet. And
I
then
think I think her job is to kill Fury.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith it.
Ooh, I love that's one of my favorite movies.
I like that. I like that theory.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I think she's gonna die, and yeah, I think Gaia is gonna wind up being the new lead of the Skrulls if she's not dead. It's the only thing that makes sense, and it
Yeah,
gives.
somebody else has to take over and lead them at some point. I think
Mhm.
Gaia would be a good person to kind of bridge between I know we feel disenfranchised, I know we need a change, but also like connected still to like Talos's way of thinking and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I think Talos is gonna die too.
See.
I
No.
think in order for Gaia to be the leader she needs to be, Talos needs to die.
Let's fridge a man.
No, it's like it's no. You kill the mentor so the hero can actually finish its story. It's why Gandalf got killed off. It's why Dumbledore got
Is
killed
he
off.
really a mentor though?
Her father, he's kind of like the default one. T'Chaka for
I don't know.
T'Challa.
But that was different. Like there was a clear upbringing and grooming of like this is who you're going to be, this is how you become a spy, this is what you do. I don't think we have a clear understanding if that's how Talos was with Gaia even before like things changed and things happened.
Yeah,
So
she didn't have a name for a really long time, so I don't know.
yeah, we don't know. I think that's all the predictions and stuff that I have.
Yeah,
All
same.
in all, good bones to a show, but it's just who knows? Maybe the ending will really pull it together. Maybe these next 3 episodes are really going to kick it into gear in the way we need to see it.
This show has a lot that if you stopped and took an hour and 15 minutes to talk about it and actually pull all the things out, has some pretty good stuff. But on its surface,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
at midpoint, halfway through the season. Maybe by the end of the season, it'll be the
We'll just
greatest thing since Loki. I don't know. Doubt it. But,
definitely not. But I like the optimism. Definitely
I don't know.
not.
That being said, thanks for
Yes.
joining us today. Um, we had a great time chatting about Secret Invasion episodes 1 through 3 on Disney Plus, the newest installment in the MCU. If you're watching, continue watching. We're going to keep watching. We're going to be back with another review of the final 3 episodes of this show. Review of this show, basically. In the meantime, stay tuned. Follow us on socials. We are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I got to figure out how to get us on Threads. There's always something. There's
There's
always
always something else.
I tried doing the Threads thing and it wouldn't let me because I'm already like on it on my personal Instagram account. It's just like a whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
So I'll figure it out. I'm actually kind of excited for Threads because it gives me a space for all my intrusive hot take thoughts to be. So I think that
I love it.
we are going to use that a little bit more as
You
soon
had
as I
it
can
right the
figure it
first
out.
time. I said you had it right the first time.
Oh, me. If you see a hot take of mine,
Oh, I thought about this.
I will sign any tweets slash threads that are mine, and Nessa will sign any that are hers. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to tell who's who. Because I can be very unhinged when it comes to some of these things. I almost wish we had a running tab of all the random texts I sent you over the years.
You need to.
Of like, for
Put it
example,
Jeep.
why was in Harry Potter? Why was Floor's sister with them? Why are you bringing an 8-year-old with you to a whole nother country and like she's not even ready for that level of schooling yet? Why was she there? Anyways, I said a lot to say follow us
Yes.
because do all the things. Again, we're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, casual at casual fans at casual fangirls _. Stay tuned for what we have coming up next. What else is coming out this year that we might be covering after this?
No. We gotta get the finale.
Yeah, finale, and then we'll circle back to some other things. I
Yeah.
won't. You don't have to look it
We're
up
also
now.
gonna do like little potpourri episodes where we talk about other things that we've been watching but maybe haven't covered. We haven't
Yeah,
done an episode for Flash.
Nessa saw Flash. Yeah,
There are new TV shows coming out and stuff like that. There's actually a new Superman TV show. It's Superman animated show. She's actually pretty cute so far. So we'll definitely talk about all the things that we've been watching, reading, rewatching. For anybody who's a reader, I'm in the middle of reading the 5th season by NK. What's her name? I'm screwing it up. But anyways, so I'm actually trying to read out in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Like
good for you.
NK Jemison. So I'm out here trying to read in these streets. I started reading some Nubia comics. So we'll be back to talk about all things fandom.
Let's chat about that at another time. Until then, I've been T,
And I'm Nessa.
and together we are the Casual Fangirls. We'll see you soon.
Bye.